Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 43. I'm Igneous, and today we've encountered a bit of a problem with the Atlas. It's broken. The damn thing broke. A little bit of trouble with the wheels. We've been building, and you can see we've got a wheel, but no suspension connecting it to the frame. We've got a gap in the frame where it broke at the spot where there was another wheel and suspension. The wheel and suspension are gone, and they took out part of the frame in the process. And if you look at the wheel in the back there, and we'll go over to the other side where things are even in better shape so you can see it more clearly, the suspensions are riding very, very low to the ground, and that's a reflection of the weight that we've been steadily adding and adding and adding until we get to this point where the suspension isn't really doing anything for us anymore, and we're so close to the ground that it's very, very easy for the suspension, the wheel, and the frame to take damage. As was the case here, you can see there's an elevated section, just barely elevated with this dirt in the grass, and had a little bit of an impact. Anytime I load into the game, if you look over at the Atlas, as soon as load in, it's bouncing a little bit. It's kind of initializing the suspension, and I think the weight pushing the suspension down in conjunction with that little bit of bouncing over that slightly elevated terrain is what caused the damage. So we have to find a solution. The first step, of course, anytime we've got wheels and suspensions involved, is we have to raise it up off the ground. You can't just stick wheels in where they're going to be in their final position. They won't fit. You have to give them room for the suspension to move up and down and do all that other stuff. The easiest way that I've found to do that, to make that change the elevation safely, with the least likelihood of something going horribly, horribly wrong, resulting even further damage, is to use pistons and blocks to basically make it jack. Now, we don't worry about welding up the blocks. I've never really found that it was necessary. I've never really done any kind of testing to see how much the blocks can withstand in terms of between the pistons and the blocks, how much they can lift before things start to show signs of damage. In this case, we went for 4 pistons and the blocks that were necessary to build out from them down to the ground. Everything kind of worked out for the best. So once we got all the pistons in place and the blocks down to the ground, hop into the cockpit, set the speed. In this case, I've set it to 0.5 meters per second, which is a pretty reasonable speed, and then you turn the pistons on. And I've changed the opacity on my UI so that I can actually see things a little bit more clearly without having to close the menus. And you can see it's starting to lift everything up off the ground, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. And because we've lowered the blocks down all the way to the ground, by the time the pistons are fully extended, we'll have good clearance. We'll have plenty of room to work and do what we need to do without worrying about being too close to the ground for wheels to go in and things like that. So we build new frames to receive the new wheels, get rid of all the old stuff that's broken that we won't be using anymore, attach new wheels, and then we have to think about what we're going to do to prevent the problem from happening again. And in this case, the frame that I built on either side is wider, so that we actually have room now to have 4 rows of wheels instead of the 2 rows that we had before. And you can see here we're getting ready to weld it all up. This kind of gives us double the capacity to carry the weight and also the braking and the propulsion, so we're going to go with that, and we'll see how far it gets us. But in the meantime, we can get a look at where we are and where the Atlas is, just in case it wasn't obvious from the last time around. Way the hell over there. It just rolled, and we completely didn't even notice until it was all the way over there. So I have no idea when the wheels broke. I just know that they did. We can go over and take a look at some of the work that we've been doing on it, above and beyond just the wheels. But you can see a little bit more clearly here what it looks like now with the extra rows of wheels in place. There's a lot of wheels in there. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be worth my time to extend the rows for these sets of wheels as well. These are basically just kind of like terrain bumpers to hopefully keep things from going sideways if we run into the terrain a little bit too aggressively. But I'm starting to think that if the weight was enough to do that kind of damage down here, counting on these guys to keep us upright and undamaged might be asking a little bit much. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've been spending most of my time on the top side, kind of getting everything sorted as best I can. You can see we finished the roof profile for the central area. Comes all the way back here now. Kind of has sort of a rounded back end, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Have to be wary of the thrusters when we start detailing the sides. You can see come back here. It's basically all thrusters on the back end, so we'll have to be a little bit cautious about that and exactly what we're trying to design for. But I think we'll be fine. I don't expect too much difficulty. I moved the connectors, so now we've got 2 connectors up top. We can essentially dock 2 ships just like we could on the Dauntless. Very handy. You see we've got the termite up here. It hasn't been doing a lot of welding, but it's got a lot of stuff in its cargo hold that we've been using, so it's been kind of handy. And I've been working on this front end a little bit. You can see this area here in particular, and its mirror over on the other side, has been taking up a lot of our time just trying to get it right, set up the way that it kind of looks right in all the particular categories, I guess you could say, that we're looking at. So far, I'm pretty happy with it. It kind of takes on from the side here the look of like a North American cross-country transport tractor. It's got like the big area here with the windbreak, and then you've got the cab down here with the windshield. So that's kind of a thing. It wasn't necessarily intentional, but that's the way it worked out. And we've also been working on the bridge area, which, much like the Dauntless, is going to be pressurized, so you'll be able to take off your helmet while you're in there, which required a little bit of plumbing. So we've got some pipes running in there connected to conveyors, and then we come down here. We'll skip this for a second. And then we've got the air vents here and here that'll be providing the air that will allow us to pressurize the compartment and have some oxygen in here. And then we're also going to be expanding the system that we use to manage the doors. And for people who have been playing the game for a while, this is nothing new. There's nothing particularly innovative in this, but we're going to be using sensors to automatically handle the doors so we don't have to manually use the keypads to do it. So when you get close to it, the sensor will trigger and it'll open this door, and then you walk in here, and then this sensor will trigger and it'll close this door and open this door, and then you walk out here, and then this sensor will trigger and it'll close this door. It's basically the way the whole thing is designed to work. I haven't done any of the tuning yet. It was around the time that I basically got this setup finished that I noticed the damage to the wheels underneath. I haven't been able to get around to gathering the materials that I need to make the last of the medical components for our medical room, but we're getting closer and closer to being able to process some ice on this ship, store some hydrogen and some oxygen, and then we'll have this medical room connected to everything that we need it connected to, and then we could dismantle the one of the Dauntless and take the medical supplies from there and use them in here to finish this one, and then use this for the topping up of all of our personal needs. Currently, if I had the medical components installed, it would be enough to recharge the power in my suit, but it doesn't have them, so I have to kind of keep that in mind. I could just hop in the cockpit up here and recharge the power anyways. For some reason, every time I come up here, it makes strange noises. Versus down here, I don't understand. I don't claim to understand. One thing that I am going to be doing is I'm going to be going through the entire interior of the bridge here and redoing it, changing the colors specifically. I don't mind keeping all the same blocks that I've used up to this point, but the colors are kind of not working for me for the interior. I like them for the exterior. I don't mind them for the roof and even the walls on the machine areas. Maybe it's the glass. That's probably what it is. It's just the glass, and when you're walking up there, we're right next to the glass. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Anyways, I don't mind the orange and yellow on the ceiling or the walls for the industrial areas where all the machines are, but for the bridge area, it's just, it's a bit much. It's too bright, it's too happy. We're supposed to be very serious and ominous heading off into space to do strange things to other planets that we can't do to this planet here. We've got all of our hydrogen tanks are in place now. Every last one of them, which is good news. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out, just down underneath here, is that we've got all this space underneath, currently where the jacks are. All of this under here is going to be hydrogen thrusters that are going to be used for lifting the ship out of gravity wells, whatever it's this planet, Mars-like planet, the alien planet, I don't really care. All this stuff under here is going to be hydrogen thrusters pointing down. So I wanted to make sure that the wheels aren't going to be clipped by those. I always have the thruster rule turned off in my world, but if I'm giving a blueprint to people for a project this large, I kind of want to make sure that they're covered, that they're not going to have half the vehicle destroyed before it even gets a chance to do anything because they have the thruster rule turned on. We're going to have plenty of hydrogen thrusters underneath, I hope, to provide lift. The Dauntless is something like 7 point something million kilograms. So by the time we're done here, we'll probably be in that kind of framework, and as long as we have the same number of hydrogen thrusters roughly, then I think we'll be okay. But we'll have to kind of keep that in the back of our mind as we're doing this. So I still have to finish, obviously, the edge sections of the hull, closing in the area around the hydrogen tanks, finishing the bridge, getting everything set up and tuned, getting all of the thrusters in place, and then we'll have to worry about getting the mining rig into place, because it's all kind of pointless if we don't bring the mining rig with us. We spent so much time on it, we definitely want to bring it with us. So we'll get that on, and then we'll do some testing down here on the planet. We'll gather up as much ice as we need to fill all of our hydrogen tanks, and then we will head off to either Mars or the alien planet. I'm thinking Mars first because it's the closer of the two, but we'll have to wait and see. There it is. I think that's it right there. I've got a 50-50 chance. I'm pretty sure that's it. So that's what I've been up to. We've been very, very busy, and we're making progress despite the failures of certain things and having to go back and rethink how we're approaching them. But we're going towards the destination slowly but steadily. So if you want to be notified when I add the next video, where we'll show you more progress on this build as it progresses, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.